Hello, welcome back to Crushing Sounds. My name is Chris, that's my brother Michael, and we have convened for a special review today. Once in a blue moon, a Blind Guardian album is released. So here we are to finally talk about the 12th studio album, the God Machine by German power metal legends Blind Guardian, that was released on September 2nd, with so over a month late. You can thank the House of Mouse for why I'm taking a while to get to this one. So we talked about Blind Guardian a lot.
Yeah,
As
just a little bit,
just a little
just a
bit.
little.
We did a video a couple of years back where we talked about each of their albums, what they meant to us, what we liked, what we didn't like, and that video did really well. So thanks everyone for checking that one out. A couple of years ago, of course, we had Legacy of the Darklands, which wasn't quite a Blind Guardian album, Blind Guardian-ish. Um, just tempered excitement more for the inevitable release of this album. So before we go really too far into it, Mike, what is it about Blind Guardian that gets your gears going?
I just like everything about them. I like their themes. I like their melodies. I like their anthemic choruses, their rip roaring solos and drumming, Hansi's vocals. I just everything about it is everything I like in a power metal band. I can't fault it. I think they've got just the right amount of symphonic elements in there. We'll talk about that in a minute because that kind of changes a lot. But I like they're more power than symphonic, which I like.
They were the band that really pushed me into the power and symphonic side of heavy metal, which are two of my absolute favorite subgenres in heavy metal. A lot of my favorite bands right now are in the symphonic edge, and I wouldn't have got there were it not for Blind Guardian. And I love their adoration for fantasy. Really, that cannot be understated. But also, if you like Lord of the Rings, can't really
Yeah.
go wrong with Blind Guardian. So with the longest wait between albums Blind Guardian has ever had, Beyond the Red Mirror came out in 2015. We got some flack on that last video we did for our comments on Beyond the Red Mirror. It's a good album, don't get me wrong.
Yeah.
It's a really, really good album. It's a Blind Guardian album after all, but I did have some issues with the pacing of that album, I think was my problem. I don't know if you remember. When was the
I
last
mean,
time you listened
yeah,
to that?
I feel like I've gone back to that album since we got flack for that, and I do enjoy it more now than I did back then. It still isn't a Blind Guardian album I'd stick on first. There's some great moments, but I wouldn't say the album as a whole is up there. But it's still a great listen.
Yeah, it's got some really epic stuff. And I think we all kind of expected the epic stuff from At the Edge of Time and Beyond the Red Mirror to be the through line that would carry us over into this new album. And so, yeah, here we are with the new album. And I've not seen much in the way of fan reception to it. I just haven't delved into it. But critical reception for this thing
Mm.
is through the roof. Marcel Rapp of powermetal.de, I assume that's somewhere in Denmark,
Germany.
called it the best Blind Guardian album since Nightfall in Middle Earth. Travis Green of My Global Mind said it's one of the band's best outings ever, and Dom Lawson of Metal Hammer said it was the best Blind Guardian album since Imaginations from the Other Side. So that is lofty, very, very
Yes.
lofty praise indeed. Um, I guess we'll go straight in with our initial thoughts. What did you make of your first listen of this thing?
The first listen, I was kind of indifferent. Admittedly, the first time I heard it on day one whilst I was traveling into London for work,
Ah,
which is not ideal listening time. And I listened to it again that day when I was at home, and I enjoyed it. I thought it was good. It just felt like a complete 180 from what they'd done previously, and I think to hear like power metal these days is so symphonic. There used to be a symphonic power metal genre. Now it's just power metal. You're just going to have some symphonic elements in there.
did you come away going, I like this album after that first listen?
Yes, I did like it. I didn't
Yeah.
dislike it on the first listen. It was different kind of Blind Guardian that I haven't heard for a while, I
So
would say.
I think, obviously, so we'll jump straight in. I think this is a fantastic album. It's up there with one of the band's best works. Certainly, I know in the second half of their career, they've had some. I think all their stuff's been great, but some people yearn for that thrashy sort of classic Blind Guardian, which we'll get to that. Um, Yeah, I think this is a fantastic album. I think it's a very natural progression from Beyond the Red Mirror, but it trims a little bit of the fat out of there. So it feels a lot more concise, basically. It's got a very strong through line, this album. All the songs fit together. It's a very nicely condensed, concise album. I'm sure when it gets re-released with like bonus tracks, that will ruin that kind of vibe. You know what I mean? So I definitely prefer it to be on the Red Mirror. I'm sure the fans of that album are gonna hang me from across for that one. I don't know if I prefer it to At the Edge of Time. Maybe with time might tell where this album might surpass that album, but some of my absolute favorite songs from Blind Guardian on At the Edge of Time. But we won't dance around any longer. We'll jump straight in to the album right from the word go. We've got Deliver Us from Evil is no big like epic build up. It's bang straight in with their classic speed metal roots straight away. And what do you make of Deliver Us from Evil?
Yeah, it's when it came out, it was released ahead of the album. I think it was the second song that was, and when it came out, I thought it's pretty good. But now I love it. I love that chorus. I love the just the riding, pounding drums throughout. It's so infectious. And I listened thinking, yeah, this would work on an old Blind Guardian album.
I like the cheeky key change down.
Yeah, if you can't key change up at the end because you can't hit it, just go down and then back up to the original key. It's so good.
I reckon he probably could hit it, but it's just fuck it. Let's do a to recess and go down.
Yes, yeah. Stand up and fight.
Stand up and fight. It's like, can you go that low? It's like
he can.
He can. Yeah, I think the emphasis on speed metal. I feel like it's not been absent in newer Blind Guardian. It's definitely been there. Like Voice in the Dark on At the Edge of Time was like the thrash song, but this almost feels like an album that was catered for people who have yearned for that. But what's incredible is they don't sound like they're trying to recapture something old or they can't quite do it anymore. This all still feels very committed as their epic stuff on the last two albums.
It still sounds like modern Blind Guardian. That might be production. It might just be musicality. Might be that Hans's voice isn't what his youngest. It's still got a great voice, but he certainly doesn't have the voice he had on Imaginations, where he's shrieking throughout that entire album. So I mean, all that it still sounds like modern Blind Guardian, which is quite cool.
With modern Blind Guardian, we've got massive choruses, and that leads us straight into might be my favorite track on the album, Damnation. Destroy their plans, I will survive. They're cursed to honor. Damnation, beyond the secretly weaving the Chandrian.
Interesting.
Which that chorus is so good. That really gives good. Me like Tides of War vibes. If you know that bonus track from the vinyl, the vinyl edition of Nightfall Middle Earth has Tides of War on it. That's got my favorite chorus in all of Blind Guardian. Damnation is very reminiscent of that. It's their best choruses are where like the choral vocal effect is used, where it's not just Hansi's vocals, it's two or three kind of layered on top of each other, and maybe Marcus is involved in that as well. I don't know. But I love those kinds of choruses, and Damnation is a perfect demonstration of why that style works so well for Blind Guardian, because the point of power metal is that the audience is joining in. So have a chorus where this is where you join in by having it be multiple singers, and I love it. I think that's such a good chorus.
I fully agree with all of that. Great song.
Yeah, and this always happens every time a new Blind Guardian album comes out, or I get to one, is I have to look up what each song is based on, what piece of literature something is based on, and apparently Damnation is based on the King Killer Chronicles, which I've never had any interest in. The song The Wheel of Time got me to read
Yeah.
The Wheel of Time, and I never looked back. So maybe I'll give King Killer Chronicle a try to get more out of this song. Who knows? And probably the big lead single, I guess, from this album is the longest track on the album. You wouldn't know that from the original release because it was edited down. And that annoyed the hell out of me because they cut out the best bits.
Yes.
Secrets of the American Gods, obviously based on Neil Gaiman's American Gods. This is probably, I think, this is the bombastic track
Yeah,
of the album.
this is one of the epics.
This is
Yeah.
the live
Yeah.
staple that they're going to bring out. It's really cool though. I like it.
It's probably my favorite song on the album, I'd say. And it was one of the ones released ahead of the album. They released whilst we're on that, they released too much of the album ahead of time.
Yes.
Bands, I know in this day and age you rely on streams, so I get why you do it. You don't make money from album sales anymore. But think about us who actually listen to albums the whole way through. You've almost released half the album ahead of the album. But that's a tangent. I love this song. I love this song. I love the chorus so much. It's massive, and it's nice for them to do an epic song that's under 8 minutes for a change.
I mean, I love the 8 minute stuff, obviously.
Yeah.
Wheel of Time. Then there was Silence and whatnot. Yeah. And it is also something to be said that they can create that same vibe in a more concise length of time. A lot of bands struggle with that. Metallica.
Yeah.
What's that line that goes do 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 do? Is that Phrygian? It sounds Phrygian.
Probably.
Because it's like it's that Egyptian swing. Do, 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 do. Yeah. That's really cool. I love that. Really, really cool. I noticed on this album quite a lot. The guitars really come into their own on this album, more so than they have done on a lot of Blind Guardian albums before.
I wonder if that's because there's less symphonic elements for them to rely on, that they need to write more catchy guitar riffs.
There's even a bit jumping ahead here. I think it was on Architects of Doom. It's got like the stankiest guitar riff that goes duh, 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 duh. It's like that's like groovy for Blind Guardian. Yeah. That's mental. What was it? Violent Shadows is another great one based on the Stormlight archive,
which we will probably get to one day when we're brave enough to dive into that.
I don't know if I can stomach another break after the Wheel of Time.
I have the book. It weighs down my top shelf. Yeah, I'm just looking at it. So imposing.
Brandon Sanderson takes up a whole shelf
just with 3 books.
Just with 3 books, yeah. It's like you go into like Waterstones, and all the Stormlight books, apart from the first one, are split, kind of like Game of Thrones, I suppose. Yeah. But was Violent Shadows the first track that came out?
It was released way ahead of the album, before they even announced there was an album coming out. They just released it during lockdown, I think.
2020.
I think so. It was a long time ago.
Quick Chris from the Future update going on. We got this very wrong. So the first single was actually Deliver Us from Evil, that was released on 3rd December 2021. Violent Shadows didn't come out until 29th of July 2022. So apologies for that. Don't know how we got that so wrong. But yeah, back to the video.
And when it came out, I was like, But now hearing it in the context of the whole album, I like it as well. I think like it a lot.
Yeah, I wasn't immediately taken with the song, mostly because as a latecomer to Blind Guardian and as a massive fan of symphonic metal, I love things that are epic and huge and massive. And because the several albums preceding this one, we had big epic scope, and it was very grandiose and bombastic, to then come in with a more back to basics thrash song, to me felt like we'd lost something a little bit. But obviously, as you said, with repeated listens and getting it in the context of this album, it fits really, really, really well. And of course, again, the chorus can't really be beat. It's a really fast chorus as well, so that's going to add a lot of momentum to live shows as well. But fortunately, when we got to this point, and I was yearning for something more epic, we get Life Beyond the Spheres, which I believe just today, as the time of recording this, they've dropped the music video for it, or some sort
of. I've seen that yet.
some sort of dedicated video for it. So that's really cool. This was not about any specific literature, supposedly. It's about the Big Bang, which did exist. You fucking skeptics. You can see it. It's called the cosmic microwave background radiation. They discovered it in the fucking 60s. It's real. Anyway, this song is huge, and I needed this song at this point in the album to show us what modern Blind Guardian can do.
Yeah, I'd agree with that. A more of a mid-tempo kind of thing. A great vocal performance as well. Like, Hansi's voice in this song really comes into its own. It's incredible. Love it.
Yeah, we're gonna end up doing a play-by-play of this whole thing. There's only 9 tracks, so who cares?
Yeah.
I think if there was a chink in the armor that is this album, for me it would be Architects of Doom.
Yeah, I completely agree with you there.
Other than that stanky guitar line, which I'm pretty sure is on this track, I don't really have much to say about it.
I like the verses. Like, they sound like really cool, thrashy verses. It's probably the only song on the album where I think the chorus is quite weak.
Yeah,
it just felt like they were like, "Oh, we need to write a chorus here. Let's just go monotone and just say Architects of Doom and say some random."
I don't even think it was like that. There was a chorus of obligation. I just think they just thought, here's a more reserved chorus, but it just doesn't get you going really in the same way as a lot of the other songs on this album. It's still fine. It's a good song. I don't have any trouble getting through it. But yeah, it's just okay. Maybe it's because I don't know nothing about Battlestar Galactica.
I was just about to say that. Yeah, maybe it's because I don't care for Battlestar Galactica.
Maybe if I watched an episode, is it a TV show?
It's a game.
Is
it?
I think
it might be. It might be TV as well.
I thought it was a TV show. It wasn't Comic Book Guy from The Simpsons.
Oh yeah, it is. What am I thinking of?
Warframe?
There is a video game.
Is it? What came first?
There are games.
What was first?
It was TV first.
It's got to be, surely.
Yeah, it was TV, book, comics, board game, video games. It was all sorts.
It's like one of those franchises that's everything.
Yeah.
Right, fair enough. Yeah, it's fine. Got very little to say about it. Curiously, with Let It Be No More, that's probably one of the most introspective songs that we've ever heard from Blind Guardian.
I mean, kind of. It reminds me only in concept with Ashes to Ashes, because Ashes to Ashes was about the death of Hansi's father. This one partly deals with the death of his mother. So I immediately, and they're 2 completely different songs, which I thought was quite interesting. But this also references The Leftovers, apparently, which is an American supernatural drama. I'm assuming the song is basically just about death.
That's a weird 2 things to juggle in one song.
I'm going off the wiki here.
But the song is mournful, very much so. It's the slower, more broody kind of song with a very strong chorus as well. Do you think they'll play that? Do you think they'll play it live?
I think they might do, because it's the ballad basically. So they might put it in there, because when they toured Beyond the Red Mirror, they played Miracle Machine. I think they like to play their ballads, so they'll probably throw it in there. Yeah, which would be cool if they come to the UK.
They got so many great.
To the UK.
They got so many great ballads, though.
Yeah, they do.
It's gonna be hard to decide which one you're gonna drop. What was it? Was it? It was when you saw them first time they played Past and Future Secret.
Hell yeah, they did.
Lucky bastard.
Oh, it was so good.
Yeah, but well, when I was there, they played Curse of Feanor, so you know.
Yeah, I was there as well.
I know, swings and roundabouts. Blood of the Elves. I've never read The Witcher.
It's okay. I've read the first 4, including the 2 books set before the saga. So Last Wish and Time of Contempt. No, Last Wish, Sword of Destiny, Blood of Elves, Time of Content. I've read those 4. Apparently, the next one's really good, but that's a tangent. I love The Witcher as a story and as setting and as characters, and the games. The books I do struggle with. But I really like this song as well.
Yeah, the song's great.
It's just pure thrash for the whole thing, but still manages to have a really big chorus. They've tapped into a sound on this album which is such a perfect blend of their old and new. It's just fantastic.
It's this song, and I think Violent Shadows as well, that really astonished me about how they could create a really catchy yet fast and frenetic vocal lines. Like the chorus on this one as well just surges out of it. It's really, really cool, and they do that without dropping the pace,
Yeah,
which is
yeah.
remarkable, really.
When they go from verse to chorus and you just hear the production go as Hansi Curtin sings the chorus, it just sounds incredible. With no build up, like so many bands, Winter Sun relies so much on their build up to go on for fucking ever. Whereas Blind
The
Guardian just like bang straight in there.
yeah, that build up on loneliness is excruciatingly drawn out.
Once that build up is done, the song is amazing. But ugh,
Closing out the album, Destiny. Again, I don't have too much to say on this one. Uh, it doesn't really strike me as an album closer.
no,
Not gonna lie. That's they may not have conceived it as an album closer. I mean, in a similar vein to that, I think Secrets of the American Gods would have worked as the opener. However, I do
mm,
appreciate the smack you in the face of Deliver Us from Evil, so whatever. But yeah, Destiny, apparently inspired by The Ice Maiden
mm,
by
yeah.
Hans Christian Andersen. It's fine.
I think it has the potential to be more epic than it is.
Yes, I agree.
It just feels like it never really gets out of the gate. It almost does at the end where it all cuts out and you hear Hansi come in with the "You are
Yeah,
my," and then that bit I like. I needed more of that, and then I probably would have liked it more than I did. I did like it, but I just think where it is on the album, it should have been a bit more.
yeah. Which is kind of a limp way to close the album, really.
Yeah,
I think as I said, I loved this album. It was really, really good. But I think what I would want in the next album is this album yearns for a Wheel of Time or a And Then There Was Silence, or even the title track Imagination from the Other Side. It needs like a one big bombastic explosion in it somewhere, and it's back to back with a couple exceptions, fantastic Blind Guardian songs. For me, though, when I think Blind Guardian, I think, especially with their modern career, like that one big epic. And I think this doesn't have that, but that might not have been what they were going for, and that's a very personal thing. I don't know
mm.
if that rings true for you.
No, I think they can get away with what they have. I just think, yeah, if Destiny and Architects of Doom kind of pushed the epicness a little bit more, then I think that would have filled that quota. Because I think if you had a massive bombastic song in this, it might not. It, I don't think it would fit. I
Fair.
just think they need what they have. A couple tracks just need a bit more fleshing out and room to breathe a little bit more. But having said that, I agree with you completely. This is a great album. I'll listen. I've since it came out, I've listened to it non-stop. Partly because I knew we were doing this, but also because I just couldn't stop listening to it. It
Yeah.
just sounded so fresh to hear a really good new Blind Guardian album.
Yeah, for sure. It's 9 tracks long. It's 51 minutes, but it
Yeah,
flies by.
yeah,
Like,
for sure.
doesn't feel 51 minutes at all. Where would you stack it in your Blind Guardian
I reckon
pantheon?
pretty high at the moment. I mean, I've listened to it more than any other at this point
Yeah.
this year because I've just been listening to it non-stop. I'd put it in probably my top five.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Better
yeah,
than Beyond the Red Mirror?
yeah. I think so. I'd like going back to Beyond the Red Mirror. I really like Throne. Obviously, Holy Grail, Prophecies, Distant Memories, Sacred. I like a lot of it, but I think this one consistently as a whole is a better for me album. Something I find more enjoyment listening to
Yeah.
as a whole album.
Better than At the Edge of Time?
That's tricky.
Yeah. I feel like a lot of Blind Guardian fans will put this higher than At the Edge of Time,
Yeah,
probably simply owing to the fact that a lot of their classic sound has been brought back.
yeah, yeah.
Uh, would you want to see this thrash metal style like dominate the next album, or do you
Yeah,
want them to?
maybe.
Yeah,
If it's this well written, yeah.
yeah. I mean, yeah, that's really all there is to it, really. As long as the songs are great, then whatever, really. So, yeah, just fantastic album. What you said, Secrets of American Gods, probably your favorite.
Yeah, I'd say that. Yeah,
Yeah,
definitely.
awesome stuff. I do love the chorus in Damnation so much, but also love the chorus in Blood of the Elves. Life Beyond the Spheres is fantastic as well, just because of its scope. I love the scope of it. Maybe that's because I know what it's about,
Yeah.
but it just works. So yeah, I don't think anyone expected Blind Guardian to lean so far back onto their classic sound as much as they did for this thing. But if our opinions and the opinions of other critics have shown, it very much paid off because the God Machine is fantastic. Um, I don't know how it stacks up with my other reviews this year, but you know it's only a couple months away until I do my top 10 of the year. Don't be surprised if this is on there. That's all I will say on that front. So short and to the point, because it's Blind Guardian, they're obviously amazing, and the new album God Machine is really, really fucking good. If you've checked it out, and doubtless you have by now, let us know down below what do you think of the album. Thank you, Mike, for joining me today on this merry endeavor
No
of
worries.
fantasy, wonder, and mystery. Thank you all for watching, and yeah, we will see you all in the next video.